Juice. We're talking about juice today. When I think about all the therapies that I've done, I think one of the ones that has probably been most helpful for my body over these years, especially with gut issues and with getting my whole system to work more optimally, it's been juice. And now, as I think about it, I think it's really because I was packing my body full of the nutrients that it needed. The world we live in now is very depleted of nutrients and also full of toxins. You know, the soil that we grow our produce in is stripped of its nutrients and also includes a lot of heavy metals and probably other pathogens. And we really are supposed to be eating a very diverse diet. And it's very easy to get into this routine of not eating very much. Not eating very much variety. Not only in my own routines do I see that I just have these like go-to meals and go-to foods, but also in the grocery store, you know, we're only getting what fruits and vegetables have been, agreed upon in a contract with whatever producers in the world. Plus, we know that even, at the end of the day, the avocado that we're eating now, for instance, has much lower amount of nutrients in it than it did even just a couple decades ago. So my body probably over this time has really needed extra nutrients just in general. But then also if I've been dealing with, since I've been dealing with gut issues, I probably have some kind of leaky gut or something. So my body hadn't been absorbing the nutrients that I was putting into it. So now I'm just really seeing, not just with juice therapy, but with the other things that I'm exploring, mineral balancing and vitamins, and even with doing cleanses like parasite cleanses and heavy metal detoxes. I think the best way to remove the toxins from our bodies is to really feed our bodies. And when I think about what really got me to feel like, okay, like this juice thing is working, it was taking in a lot. When we come from the Western medicine pharmaceutical world, I had this kind of switch in my mind a couple of years ago, maybe not even that long ago, where it's like, yes, of course, like when we're talking about pharmaceuticals or medication, supplement, even some supplements, we're like, oh, don't take too much. You can overdose or you can really damage your liver or whatever. But in the world of natural things, especially when we're talking about foods, nature's foods, we really require much larger amounts to not just be nourishing our bodies, but to really be pushing out the, just flooding our systems with nourishment so that the organs and our whole system is working optimally and also has enough nutrients and even just like liquids and hydration to push out the bad stuff. So when I think about this, I think the first juicing that I really did was when I had moved to Mexico City, probably 2017, late 2017 or so. And I went to a Mayan chiropractor who also prescribed me juices. And I don't remember all of the juices. I think there were maybe 4 or 5 that I took a day. The first one in the morning, and this is pretty standard in a lot of, in everything that I've seen around juice therapy, is like an immune system juice that is also really good for the liver and bile production. Typically, it includes lemon or lime or ginger. Those are 2 like really highly bile producing and bile duct opening. So I remember I was taking that in the morning. I took a green juice, which probably was like celery and cucumber and something. And I think I did some carrot in the afternoon. And then I remember taking jicama juice in the evenings. And at that time, I was living in Mexico City. Juices are very cheap there. You can get, there's like juice stands, like little carts all over the place, or at every market, there's a juice stand. And you can get like a big thing of fresh juice and watch them juice, do it in their juicer right there. And it's like, I don't know what it costs now, but back then it was like 50 pesos for like a huge thing, which is like $2.50 for a huge juice like this. So I found a juice guy. I went to my market and I found a juice guy who was willing to deliver it to my house, which wasn't far from the market, but he would make me, I just sent him my protocol, and he would make me like the 5 juices a day and then come and bring it to my house, because you need to drink juice fresh so that all of the nutrients in it are, live and active. And so he would just bring me my juice every day. And I think I was spending like $9 a day on like 5 really great fresh pressed juices. And at that time, when I think back on it, again, I didn't take, this is part of, why we're doing this, so that I am recalling and making record of the things that I've done. But I don't remember at the time, like, extraordinary changes in my health. But I do remember the jicama making me disengaging my sympathetic nervous system and helping to, the fight or flight nervous system, and helping to calm me at night and sleep better. I definitely remember that. And I also just, when I think back on the whole experience, it felt very nourishing to me. But the therapy that I did, a juice therapy that I did that was most marked in my mind, was with a therapist and doctor in, a doctor, but who practiced what we would call like maybe alternative therapies in Mexico. And I went there for a live blood analysis. I'm part of an amazing group of women, like a WhatsApp group, community of women in Mexico. And a few of them had told me that they had gone to this person and done a live blood analysis. What a live blood analysis is, from my understanding, is basically they prick your finger and they take some blood from, like a small vial of blood from your finger, and then they look at it under a microscope with a certain type of light and with dark underneath it so that they can see your cells. And they watch the patterns of your live blood cells and what they're doing, and if they're clumping together and how fast they're moving. And that supposedly can tell them a lot about how our body heals, what kinds of pathogens we might have in our bodies, like viruses, bacteria, fungi, and parasites. It can tell about deficiencies, specifically in things like iron and B12, and other things. I also, in preparing for this episode, I went online and just saw that there's a lot of people who say that just is not true, and that's not possible. You can't see all of those things from a live blood analysis. Oh, the other major thing that it does is most clinics will watch over time, over the course of some hours, what patterns and behaviors the blood cells do, and how quickly they degenerate. And that is supposed to be an indicator of how easily your body can heal and potential future diseases, chronic illnesses, primarily cancers and tumors and things like that. Again, there's a lot of people who say that that's not true online. I'm not one to say either way, because that is a type of test. It's not a therapy that I can say, yes, that therapy helped me, so I don't care what typically if it's like people say that these therapies don't work, it's like, well, let me try it on myself. If it makes me feel better, then it works. I can test it myself. But with a test like that, I don't really have any, I'm not able to say it was real or not. I will say that the doctor told me that my cells were in terrible condition, that I had some bacteria and viruses and things like that, pathogens, that there was like clumping on the screen, and that was indicative of my cells, of pathogens in my system, and also my cells then being kind of bogged down because they were bogged down with these pathogens, they weren't able to, they were like clumped up and dirty, I guess you could say, and they weren't regenerating themselves fast enough, something like that. I also have another friend who went to this same person, and he was like intermittent fasting, eating like a pretty like kind of not keto diet, but like a very like vegetables and proteins, exercise all the time, felt really good, had good energy levels. And he said that he messaged me afterwards and he's like, what was your results from your test? Because this woman told me that my system is terrible. So, I don't know. But out of that session, out of that live blood analysis, she prescribed me juice therapy. And I felt really good doing that. I only did it for 3 weeks, I think, because it's very complex. I was drinking, I actually I found my protocol from that, and I actually pulled it up, and I'm just gonna like tell you some of the things so you get an idea. Okay, so every day is different. This is the first week. In the morning, fasting. Day 1, do a mono diet. So choose one type of fruit and consume it for the whole day, and that's all you eat on day 1. Papaya, pears and apples, or melon. So you'd pick one of those, and that's the only thing that you eat that day. And then the rest of the week, you would have basically fruit in the morning, like a big salad with a bunch of vegetables. I think I was able to eat rice on this, maybe. Yeah. The first juice in the morning is an immune tonic, which is ginger. Let me pull that up. Oh, it's not in here. It was ginger and lemon, I think, and warm water. Okay, and then every juice I was drinking, let's see, a morning juice before eating, juice with breakfast, middle of the day, lunch, middle of the evening, dinner. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 juices per day. The end of the day was a diuretic juice, which was 1 cucumber, 3 pieces of Swiss chard, a handful of parsley, and 3 limes. The other juices were different. There were 12 different juices, juice 1 through juice 12, and they were different with each meal, each day, throughout the whole week. And then I think week 2, you went back and did the same 12 juices, but at different times. Here are some of the juices. Juice 1, half a cucumber, half a beet, half a red bell pepper, 2 carrots, 3 pieces of Swiss chard leaves, 1 large garlic clove. Juice 2, 1 handful of spinach, 1 handful of parsley, 3 carrots, half a tomato, large garlic clove. Juice 3, 3 leaves of romaine lettuce, 1 handful of parsley, 1 handful of spinach, 3 carrots, half a red apple. Okay, so every one of these juices was a little bit different than the others. A mix of, mostly it was vegetables with like 1 fruit in it. Yeah, like 3 carrots, half an apple, half a chayote, I don't know how you say that in English, handful of spinach, handful of parsley. So I made each one when it was time to drink it. I got, so you have to have a juicer for this, and I loved my juicer. I was like, it's really great to have a juicer, honestly, because if you really just want to like pack your body full of nutrients, juicing is a way to do that. You can also do smoothies and stuff. But with juicing, you can take in a lot more. And again, because it's natural nutrients and stuff, if you really want to, like, our bodies are all nutrient deficient, to be honest. So juicing is a really good way to like pack your body full of nutrients. I got my juicer on like used on Facebook Marketplace or something. And I think that's a good route, especially if you aren't sure if you are gonna keep up with it or whatever. Look for a used one. I would have loved to continue doing the juicing. Again, I wasn't just, I was also eating, but it was just very packed full of vegetables, like big salads. And then I think cooked vegetables at night with a little bit of brown rice. You soak the brown rice first. You always want to soak your rice first because it can have arsenic in it, white rice can. And your body will absorb the nutrients better. Okay, so that was number 2. And I really felt like I had a lot. Again, I wasn't hungry at all, even though I was eating super light. Like I wasn't eating, you know, dairies and processed anything and all of that. But like, I did not feel like I was missing anything. And I think that's a huge thing to remember too. And even the parasite cleanses and stuff I'm doing now, I'm realizing I really need to pack my body full of nutrients, mainly in the form of vegetables and fruits, which are also fiber, which is also the antidote to almost all, like to sluggish liver, to everything. Go back and watch the liver episode if you haven't watched that. That's like my favorite episode thus far, because it like all of these health issues that we're having are all pointing back to the culprit is sugar and the antidote is fiber. And I know there's been a lot of talk over the years about fruit having sugar in it, so you shouldn't eat too much fruit. But first of all, when you're cutting out all of the bad sugars, your body still needs sugar. It runs on sugar. And when you're eating the good sugars, like fruit, you're nourishing your body in many other ways, and you're getting it with fiber. So fruit is not a bad thing. I think it's great to eat, you know, just eating fruit. There's a whole thing on this that, you know, I don't know, a lot of people have different thoughts on when to eat fruit, how to eat fruit, spiking your glucose and stuff like that. I think it has a lot more to do with what else are you eating. And anyway, for flushing your system when you're eating very light and mostly fruit and vegetables, I think adding in some fruits is good. Not like a smoothie that is only papaya, mango, you know, strawberry, like super sweet fruits, but adding in some here and there is like really good. We need that. It's from nature. Like we need the things that nature made for us. The last juice cleanse that I recall doing is with the medical medium, which we'll talk about in more depth. But the medical medium is, you may have heard of celery juice, and that there was a huge craze in Hollywood for a while, and it's become very popular over the last 20 years or so. And he talks about celery juice, specifically celery juice, having a certain type of sodium in it. He calls it like crystallized sodium or something, like actual crystals. The last juice therapy that not last chronologically, but the last that I'm going to mention in this video that I have done is celery juice with the medical medium. We'll talk more about the medical medium, but he is the guy who, you know, came up with the idea that celery juice has what he calls, I think he calls it like a crystallized sodium, a certain type of sodium that when you juice celery is available. And so I did this for at least 3 months, maybe 4 months. he says do minimum 16 ounces, better to do like 32 ounces. You can start small and you're supposed to start smaller and move up. But I think I was doing about 32 ounces of organic celery juice in the mornings. And first of all, that really hydrates you. Like anything like that, celery juice, or, I talk about lemon water in the mornings. If you do just like a big old glass of that, you're obviously nourishing yourself and hydrating yourself. And I do think that the celery juice was helpful. Again, if for nothing else, just to really hydrate my body. And I did it on an empty stomach in the morning, so you're just packing your body full of a good minerally sodium. And people swear by it, and they have completely gotten rid of many, many chronic illnesses. You can watch testimonials on his website, medicalmedium.com. And yeah, that's the last juice that I've done. Those are all very much worth looking into. Again, they're high, depending on where you live, they can be very affordable, especially compared to other therapies or, things you're going to spend your medical money on. But they can also take a lot of time. So if you're going to do juicing, a really important thing is washing your vegetables. I don't care where you live. You need to wash your vegetables and fruits, your produce. The easiest way to do that I have found, I actually got this from Kim Rogers, who has Rogers Hood Apothecary, who does parasite cleanses, that herbal parasite cleanses, mold cleanses, other things like that, that I have spoken about before and promoted. She talks about just getting good filtered water, like a big gallon or like a big pot of filtered water. You put good like sea salt, 2 spoonfuls of good sea salt, like 2 to 3 cups of vinegar, just like the white vinegar from the store and from the grocery store, and a half a lime squeezed in there. And then soak your vegetables in that for at least 15 minutes. And then you can rinse them off so they don't taste like vinegar, which I haven't noticed at all. And then you can eat them. But for sure, wash your vegetables. If you don't want to do that, the other good thing for washing your vegetables is, again, filtered water, putting them in filtered water with grapefruit seed extract, which you can order on iHerb or Amazon or get at Whole Foods or a lot of holistic supplement stores. Naturista, if you live in Mexico. Grapefruit seed extract. I don't recommend using microdin, which is common in Mexico. I don't know what it is. I think it's iodine, but I haven't done the research on it. But it's just like if we have very natural ways that we know of cleaning our vegetables that are inexpensive, like the salt water, lime, and vinegar, or grapefruit seed extract, like let's just do those, right? I'll do some research at some point on microdin. Yeah, so that's that. That's juicing. Definitely recommended to look into. Definitely, high yield, especially if you really need to pack your body full of nutrients, which we all do. And will definitely have you releasing things that your body doesn't need anymore.